Good evening and welcome to Match of the Day, where we're hoping to follow last week's excellent start to the season. The matches certainly whet the appetite. From Anfield, league champions Liverpool, under Joe Fagan's new management, take on European qualifiers Nottingham Forest, who, despite minor rumblings this week, put Manchester United in their place at Old Trafford. What a feast to set before a man on his return from holiday, such as commentator Barry Davis.
I'm afraid the sun is rather struggling to follow me here. It's a cold, blustery afternoon, but the atmosphere at Anfield is as warm as ever. And the crowd doubtless hoping that Forest will adopt the same positive attitude as they did last season here, when the match between the two produced 7 goals and a real thriller.
We hope so. That contest will be followed by an intriguing second division fixture on the lush new Craven Cottage turf between unlucky Fulham, who missed promotion by a whisker, and Portsmouth, who strolled into the second division, and judging by their midsummer buys, mean to stay there at least. And I don't anticipate commentator John Motson wanting to leave early either.
Two former First Division clubs here trying to recapture past glories, but today christening a new playing surface which I believe could really catch on. It's Fulham's new cell system pitch, financed by the GLC. It's natural grass, and I'm led to believe it will be looking as good as this come next May. And I should imagine, Jimmy, when you've seen this, you'll wish you were still playing for Fulham.
It does too, John. Believe it or not, though, a few nights ago, I even dreamt I was playing for Fulham at the age of 55. Well, away from dreams to the harsh reality of today's disappointing news.
Serious crowd trouble has again damaged football's reputation with violent scenes after Chelsea's match at Brighton. Chelsea chairman Ken Bates calls the offenders mindless scum, while Brighton's Mike Bamber wants them jailed for at least 5 years.
So it's straight to Anfield for the action for the game between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Let's join the 31,000 people there and commentator Barry Davis.
Michael Robinson, signed from Brighton and Hove Albion for 250,000, is the only one of Joe Fagan's new boys making a home debut. So the team is unchanged from last Wednesday, when victory at Norwich brought their first win in 10 matches. That's running last season into this. It's been an interesting week for Nottingham Forest. They took on and beat the cup holders, Manchester United, on Monday. And now, with an unchanged side, they take on the league champions. That gives an indication of the conditions. The trees just outside the ground at Anfield. And it's Gary Birtles who will get the match underway, with Nottingham Forest attacking the goal to our right. Forest in their change strip of yellow. First feel of the ball for Hans van Breukelen. Kenny Dalglish. Beautiful turn around Steve Hodge and a nice nutmeg. Showing rare form at the start. Davenport. Bowyer. Good blocking by Lee. Dalglish. Johnston. 8 Forest players back. Even when he makes a mistake, he recovers to do something useful. And he's already come up with so many pearls. Johnston. Kennedy. Souness. Off Anderson. It's a corner. He loves to strike them from the edge of the box like that. Neil. Lee. 7 Liverpool players in attacking positions. Good play by Johnston. Dalglish. Souness. Either foot, it doesn't matter. And Johnston, it was an interesting choice, picking out the far man. nod enabled another crack to come from Graham Souness. Played by Todd. Goalkeeper didn't really help him too much. Swain. Todd. And the wind changing direction so frequently, now very much in Liverpool's favour. And here's Rush! Anderson! Good clearance. Ball was quite superbly watched then by Anderson. No panic of any sort. Joe Fagan sitting in the director's box for the first time in over 20 years at Anfield. Felt a bit kindly for Hansen. Souness. Swain. He'll give him the handball, but it's been turned on. Souness. Hansen. And Wallace taking advantage of the misunderstanding. Kennedy got back well. And it ended with Wallace and Birtles on the deck. Wallace, and here's Davenport with a real chance. Oh, an extraordinary piece of play involving Wallace, who was up, down, and in the end played a really good ball through to Peter Davenport, who was prepared to hit it on the full. But sadly for him, it went wide. And the way Forest are playing, they won't get too many chances in the match. And that's one that's got away. Rush running on, but the angle is against him. And the challenge was strong and effective by Hart. And we come to the end of what became an increasingly frustrating half for Liverpool, who had so much possession but never forced Van Breukelen into action. The 8 men in front of the Dutch goalkeeper of Nottingham Forest, protecting him extremely well. So it's a story not unknown in these matches involving Nottingham Forest, who have often come here to defend. But at least the former manager, Bob Paisley, will not be sharing the frustration, because he's already on his way to Denmark to spy on Liverpool's European Cup opponents. He had to get the earlier play in order to see the match tomorrow, but before leaving he was able to pop into the ground to collect the Manager of the Year award, the 6th time he had received the trophy, and he was given a tumultuous welcome. The man with the daunting task of having to follow Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, has completed his first half-time talk at Anfield, and his side now attack the Kop end in the second half. Here's Lee. Souness. Dalglish. Good claim. But appeal for handball, and it has been given. Appeal for handball by Paul Hart, and the referee has answered in the affirmative. A penalty it will be. There was a great shout from the crowd. The referee is being invited by Ian Bowyer, the captain of Nottingham Forest, to consult the linesman. But Mr. Lovett, who initially has seemed to be adamant, decides he will consult the linesman, but I doubt if the linesman was in a particularly good position to see. Through no fault of his own, Hart was facing this way. But the decision is offside. The start of the attack, offside before, and so in the end, Forest, if you like, escape. is really promising here for Forest. Devonport plays it right. They have a man over. Hodge. Well, it was a fine break by Anderson, which Davenport rather held up by not releasing the ball quickly to the near side. It's always easier to play those attacks or indeed any attacks when you're high in the stand. And 2/3 of the match have gone. And it's still 0-0. That's useful. But it's going wide, and it stays out. How could it have got away? He's done it so many times on that sort of angle, and it's gone in. But this time, having been superbly fouled by Souness, the ball refused to duck inside the far post, and the follow-up was to no avail. Bertels, halfway through the second half. Rush. Dalglish, but Robinson hadn't run on. Dalglish was expecting him to make the diagonal run. Oh, that could be a disaster! Saved by the crossbar. Great turn. But he won't get anything. And Hansen's back pass towards an empty goal, but there was enough bounce on the ball for the crossbar to save Liverpool, Grobbelaar and Hansen. And I don't really think you can blame Grobbelaar for that, because Hansen did not look. Can breathe again. Rush, well taken, penalty. Tripped by Todd. And the pace of Rush was enough to produce the verdict. He was a bit sharper than Todd could have believed, and the ball just went away, and Todd made contact with the foot to the despair of Brian Clough and colleagues on the bench. And Joe Fagan's side had the chance on the penalty spot that it seemed they were going to get in the first minute of this half. Phil Neal to take, 6 times successful last season. And it's saved, but here's Johnston, and turned away by Hart. And all we get from the manager is a puff of the cigarette. Well, he's following Bob Paisley in one thing. He doesn't show great animation. Kennedy. Screwed off the side of his boot. Lee. Neal. Neal. Johnston. Souness. Nippy Hodge again. Grobbelaar enjoying himself. And there's no great rush for him to get back. Here's Dalglish. Robinson waiting for his moment, which didn't come. Neil. Johnston. Where is the way through? Neil. Davenport. If he can collect that. Liverpool will have to hurry, which they do. Birtles comes and then goes away. Here's Wallace, here's Birtles. And it was a missed kick by Birtles, by Wallace rather, and Birtles flipping it over. And Robinson is replaced in his home debut. Another man he was keeping out of the side, Dave Hodgson. Crowd 31,276, which is up on last season when this fixture produced the worst crowd at Anfield of the season. Straight on by Dalglish to Rush, and it's in at last. Curious, after all the effort, that two passes of such simplicity should produce a goal. Kennedy clear with his right foot at one end to Dalglish in the middle, who flicked it on first time to Ian Rush, who finished in the style that he was using all last season and has carried into this. So with just 6 minutes of the match remaining, Liverpool at last have a goal. And the name of Ian Rush echoes around Anfield. He looks as though he's going to start his home career with a victory. Gets a second chance. Dalglish. And he will know better than anybody that he should have got one on target. Grobbelaar says it's mine. And how right he is, judged to a nicety. Dalglish. Walsh. Davenport, who was missed in the first half, now has added importance. Wallace. Referee gets a check from both linesmen. Fagan start their home campaign with a victory. It was a long time in coming. The one goal scored by Ian Rush from an immediate flick on by Kenny Dalglish to a clearance by Kennedy. Liverpool 1, Nottingham Forest 0.
Ominous signs of Liverpool reawakening in that game. They seem to have restored some stability to their defence, but still have uncharacteristic finishing nerves. Manager Joe Fagan, 2 wins in a row, and his first at Anfield, was not free from anxiety, but must feel much more relaxed now. While his opposite number, Brian Clough, was obviously determined to keep a clean sheet in more ways than one. Tonight, it's reported he's ready to pledge himself to Forest forever, despite his recent criticism of his board's policy. Well, Fulham's new turf caught the eye at Craven Cottage. Nothing to tidy up there as the 22 players took to the field. Both the home team and newly promoted Portsmouth had players with the ability to exploit it. Your commentator is John Motson.
Malcolm MacDonald hasn't bought a player in almost 3 years as Fulham manager, and his lineup today reflects the faith he has in the club's youngsters. In goal, 20-year-old Jim Stannard is preferred to Jerry Payton, and there are 3 19-year-olds. Number 2, Paul Parker, takes over from injured Jeff Hopkins. At number 4, there's a league debut for John Marshall in preference to Sean O'Driscoll. And at number 11, Peter Scott gets his chance because Ray Lewington is ruled out. By contrast, Portsmouth have spent around £700,000 on 6 new players in the last 15 months. Number 3, Richard Money, and number 9, Mark Haitley, the latest signings by a manager who's back on familiar ground today, because Bobby Campbell was in charge at Fulham for over 4 years. The referee is Dennis Brazier from Northampton, and he gets underway the first Football League match on Fulham's new cell system surface. Portsmouth are wearing blue shirts and white shorts. Here's Webb at number 7. Behind him is Ellis, the fullback. Both sides lost their opening league match last Saturday. And there's Biley, number 10 for Portsmouth. And Roger Brown, the Fulham captain, gives away a corner. Alan Biley with 26 goals for Pompey last season. And Haitley is the threat there. Tony Gale got the ball out. Mark Haitley, who cost £190,000 from Coventry once the tribunal had adjudicated on the fee. And Kevin Locke this time doing the defending, and Portsmouth have forced 3 successive corners here. This one to be taken by Alan Rogers, who plays it short to Doyle. And Ray Houghton with the challenge. And at last Fulham can get the ball away. There's quite a gale blowing around Craven Cottage this afternoon. That's not a pun on the Fulham number 6, by the way, but the wind could play quite a part here. That was on by Dillon for Rogers. 3 waiting in the centre for Portsmouth. And cut back for Haitley. And Portsmouth, to the chagrin of Jim Stannard, reaped the benefit of a very powerful start. The ball was very well turned on in the first place by Dillon out to Rogers, who plays as an orthodox winger for Portsmouth. And what you want from them is a good cross like that. And Mark Haitley, who scored with a header in the Milk Cup match at Hereford on Wednesday night, now opens his league account for his new club. His father, Tony, was a fine header of the ball, and he's developed the same way. Coney turned the ball in. It's Houghton with the throw for Fulham. Hateley and Brown. Biley now. And Hateley chasing. Parker just waiting for Stannard. And Hateley told to keep the feet down by the referee. And Portsmouth moving well. This is Biley. Dillon's making ground in the centre, so is Hateley! And he could so easily have had his second. This time it was Webb that started the move in midfield, through to Biley. And as he made progress down the right, Hateley came tearing in at the far post, but didn't quite get the contact he wanted. And Fulham have made a shaky start against some progressive play by the away side. Coney. Here's Houghton. Davis is to his left. Wilson. Challenge. Wilson was the player who was heavily tackled. And the referee not wasting any time here in booking Mick Tate. Houghton plays it square to Tony Gale, who slipped as he shaped to shoot and wasn't terribly impressed, I fancy, by the delivery anyway, from Houghton. Headed by Webb. Now Ellis. Biley with the touchback, nice one. Webb. And again Biley, offside. Here's Locke. Now it's Brown. Marshall wide on the right. Wilson coming through the inside right position. Portsmouth caught a little square. Came off Tate. Here's Parker. And now Houghton. Well, that's a fine run by Ray Houghton. It was Tate who stopped him and Webb who cleared, but he threatened to go through the pack there. Parker. And the wind again having an effect. Marshall. Dillon for Portsmouth. Biley. And again Dillon. Hateley to Webb. Scott. Sensible ball to Coney. Now Gale. Wide on the right is Wilson. Three in the middle for Fulham. And Wilson's shot. Well, Ray Harford, the Fulham coach, was saying to me before the match that the plan today was to get Robert Wilson through the Portsmouth ranks whenever possible, and certainly on the early indications, that's exactly what Fulham are doing. Coney, Marshall in support. Here's Gale. And now Locke. Oh, Gale was checked there. Haitley and Doyle were coming across him, and it's given Fulham a chance to get Roger Brown up on the far side. Locke picks out Houghton. And Locke again. And Fulham had committed plenty of players to attack, so here's Houghton again. Biley having to get back. Weight of numbers there in the Portsmouth half. Eventually forcing the corner. And Brown tries to reach it. And his... Oh, Coney with the shot. And he's not having the best of luck, Dean Coney, these days. Indeed, you have to go back to last October when we covered a match at Newcastle to find Dean Coney's last league goal. It's 28 second division matches since he scored. And on that occasion, as Scott was shaping to hit it, he did his best, did Coney, and was just too high. Here's Houghton. Way over on the right is Marshall. But he hasn't had the chance so far to show his pace in that position. Well, Portsmouth's coach arrived rather later than usual at Craven Cottage today, but they wasted no time once they got out there. They lead at half-time with a goal scored by Mark Haitley after only 3 minutes. Well, the most famous landmark on Fulham's ground, Craven Cottage itself, could well disappear if the club get permission to develop that Putney end. They want to build a new grandstand incorporating a sports and leisure complex, luxury apartments. It's a brave scheme and it would cost up to £10 million, but the club are currently negotiating with the church commissioners who actually own the ground. My early impressions of the new pitch at Fulham suggest that it's quite the opposite to the synthetic surface at Queen's Park Rangers, in that the ball on this pitch tends to hold up rather than run on. So it's worth teams thinking about playing the long pass over the opposing defence, because if you don't get offside, as Haitley did there, you might find the ball slow. The Pompey supporters chanting the Pompey chimes. Parker forward. Coney with the touch. That was Tate. And again, but neither of his clearances found a colleague. Portsmouth still sitting on this one-goal lead. Davis for Fulham. Marshall. Foul was by Hazelwood. Gale in. Brown comes forward. Marshall away by Tate. And Portsmouth defending well. They weren't thrown by the little routine prior to the kick being taken. Here's Parker. Wanted Coney wider then, but that will do. Scott. Back again by Houghton. Now Gale. Locke. Oh, Wilson's dummy, and here he is again, and Coney! And it still won't go in for him. Lovely 1-2 between Wilson and Coney. reminiscent of that famous goal Fulham scored at Newcastle last season, but poor Dean Coney, who hasn't scored in the league since then, must be wondering when one is going to go in. There's Locke. And Houghton. Coney and Davis to his right. Scott also moving forward. It's Tate's header out. Here's Marshall. That struck Dillon. There's a good chance there. And Tate stops Davis inside the 6-yard box. Well, now Fulham are beginning to put together some concerted attacking play. It was Ray Houghton that came in from the left there and threatened. And as the ball came over, Tate doing enough to put off Davis. Biley with the flick. And now Webb for Portsmouth. Looks very assured on the ball. That was Ellis forward to Biley, who's onside. And fires one across, which stays in play. Rodgers. Dillon wants it played back to him, number 8. What Fulham have to be careful about as they go chasing the game, a goal down. Ray Harford on the bench will be aware that a counter-attack from Portsmouth could sew the match up for them. Marshall. Locke. Wilson's made a good forward run. Number 8 didn't run for him though, the ball. Wilson having a good industrious match, but perhaps sold Parker a bit short there, and Rodgers away. Taking on Brown, Biley's coming in at the far post, and Rodgers almost curled it in. In fairness to Parker, he wasn't given the best of chances by the pass from Wilson, and Rodgers got away. Whether he was aiming for Biley or whether he was aiming to curl it inside the far post, he will know, but he certainly didn't miss by very much. And we've been playing for an hour. Here's Haitley. And Doyle bursting through, and he's offside against Biley. Well, the linesman had his flag up. Doyle curls it in, and Biley scores. Now, are they going to allow the goal? It looks as though they are. Now, I think that's a good piece of refereeing in one way, because as Doyle burst through, Biley was in an offside position. The linesman started to flag, but at that point, Biley was not surely interfering with play. On went Doyle, and when the cross came in, Biley was on the end of it to make it 2-0. So, no protest from Fulham, it would appear, and the officials may well have got it right. 63 minutes gone, and 2-0 to Portsmouth. Turn back to Houghton by Wilson. Looks like a happy return for Bobby Campbell at this stage. Marshall. There's Biley. And Money. Players who've had good First Division experience. Here's Dillon, another one, and Haitley. Dillon once more, number 8. Rodgers, Dillon, and Biley's in the centre, offside. Wherever you look in this Portsmouth team, they may have just come out of the 3rd division, but they're experienced as individuals, and Fulham make a substitution late in the day, Only about 5 minutes to go, and Dale Tempest to replace Dean Coney. Tate and Hazelwood going for the same ball, and a free kick to Fulham. Tempest hoping to snap up a chance. Locke to take the kick. And Brown jumping with Haitley, but that's been a useful ploy for Portsmouth to pull Haitley back to mark the Fulham number 5 at set plays. Here's Parker, though. And Brown is still forward. Tempest. Houghton. Gale. Houghton again. It opened up there for Houghton, but the shot didn't dip in time. That effort perhaps summing up the afternoon for Fulham. Not much has gone their way. Webb. Chipped across for Bailey. Oh, nicely done by him. Came off him again. Interception there by Doyle. Here's Money. And well won by Houghton. And through the middle is Tempest, but the whistle is gone. The irony for that, perhaps, is that Fulham's most promising chance came as the referee blew the final whistle. Certainly Alan Bailey and an experienced-looking Portsmouth team, even though they've just come out of the 3rd division, looking good value for their victory. And a happy return to Craven Cottage for Bobby Campbell.
Well, Portsmouth deserved the points because they had the greater appetite to win the ball right from the start. And although Fulham's youngsters had plenty of the ball after that, their neat moves and entertaining close passing style fell down because of lack of determination and enthusiasm among 1 or 2 players. Portsmouth will more than hold their own. And what a pity it would be if, now that Fulham have a perfect surface, 1 or 2 players decide they don't want to play on it. Bob.
After such a promising start last Saturday, it's sad that trouble returned to the terraces today. 4 policemen were injured at Brighton when violent scenes followed Chelsea's 2-1 win. Chelsea chairman Ken Bates said those responsible were mindless scum. But the strongest reaction came from Brighton chairman Mike Bamber, who stated, "These hooligans have got to be put away for 5 years or more. It was terrifying for the women and children in the crowd. I'll take the matter up with the Chelsea chairman, but it's really down to the government of the day." Meanwhile, up at Middlesbrough, manager Malcolm Allison criticised police control after more hooliganism following the 2-2 draw with Leeds. Seats were ripped out in one of the stands and police dogs were eventually brought in to clear the pitch. Allison said hundreds climbed onto the pitch after the game and no one said a word about it. If that happened anywhere else, there would be police cars everywhere. Football pays a vast amount of money to the police over a season and they really need to clamp down on the troublemakers. I wish I could tell you there was no trouble in Glasgow, where the day's biggest crowd, over 50,000, watched the Old Firm match between Celtic and Rangers. There were, in fact, 53 arrests. But let's concentrate on the football with commentator Archie McPherson.
And there's David Simon, action right away. Saw him at Tynecastle last week. He made 5 bookings. Hope it's a quieter day for him this afternoon. Well, there's a great goal. Ali McCoist, right out the blue, right through the Celtic defence, 27 seconds. Forward goes Aiken, and there's Mugabe down. Aiken with it, it's in. The equaliser. Dawson. Redford won't get there, that's very casual play by Rangers. That's a good ball, McClare. He's got a lot of players up there, including Burns, and down goes McCloy. And that's been given, it's a goal by Mugabe. 2-1.
Victory for Celtic, who are one of 4 Premier Division clubs still with maximum points. The only team in the English First Division in a similar position is West Ham. Goals from Steve Whitton, their £150,000 signing from Coventry, and Dave Swindlehurst beat Spurs at White Hart Lane. The 3 other teams who'd won their opening games, Notts County, Aston Villa and Arsenal, all lost today. Ian Baird scored the Southampton goal that ended Arsenal's record. Paul Mariner was on the mark again as Ipswich won 2-0 at Notts County. And an own goal by Aston Villa's Peter With, who also scored for his own team, gave Queen's Park Rangers a 2-1 victory in the first ever Division 1 match on an artificial pitch. We've already seen Liverpool's victory, and the other favourites for the title, Manchester United, also won 1-0. Arnold Muren, again the match winner. Right, more goal action for you now, with a second division game between Cardiff and Grimsby. Cardiff in possession.
So we're into injury time in the first half without a goal being scored. Maybe we got one here. It was a beautiful goal too. Joe Waters has scored it. Come on. Jenko picked up by Bowden. Crawford. Good pass to Bennett. And maybe a chance. Tooney Cooks. Owen. It's in. What a good goal. Bennett is in there. Oh, he did well. Look at this for speed and pace and excitement. Owen is open. We should use him. He did too much, but it's a penalty. Gordon in to take this penalty kick for Cardiff. Successfully. Looking for Bennett. Touch on, and a chance for Cardiff for Crawford, surely. Oh, he makes it. That was a gift.
That win puts Cardiff in 5th place behind leaders Sheffield Wednesday and Chelsea, the only second division club with maximum points. They've played only 2 games. One result from Division 4 this evening, Torquay 1, Tranmere 1. Now the pools and the promise of a good payout if you've got 7 score draws and 2 no-score draws. Claim for 23 or 22.5 points, and the numbers you're looking for are 2, 19, 21, 27, 42, 44 and 52. The no-score draws 17 and 37.
Well, that's all for this week. The best news, I suppose, is that clubs like West Ham, Ipswich and Southampton have already shown the urge to get on top of the league and stay there. And the worst, the continual destruction of our national game as a spectator sport by the hooligan element in our society. It's been around for 20 years now. Perhaps one day the talking will stop and we'll really do something about it. And then perhaps we'll all be free to enjoy goals like this in peace at all grounds. Good night.
Doyle curls it in and Biley scores.
Straight on by Dalglish, the rush. And it's in at last.